Chair of the Keynote committee for the conference, and so as we were developing and searching for speakers, LaShawn's name came up quite a bit, and so we were thrilled that she has the opportunity to present today. So a little bit of background. Was that me? LaShawn is an employee at Lockheed Martin Space. She's a human factors design engineer, and she got her master's degree in industrial engineering with a human factors concentration at Texas A&M. Are there any Texas A&M people here? Yeah, I thought I'd seen a few of you. She leads a lot of hardware and software user interface evaluations, and what I thought was really interesting about her bio was she had talked about using this holistic approach to problem solving and team building, and I think that's so critical. As we know, in the field of ergonomics, we really need to use multidisciplinary approaches to addressing often very complex issues. And so I think that that part of her bio and her approach at introducing human factors and using that in her work is really vital. I have to admit that I forgot my Greek mythology and what Artemis stood for, so I had to do the Google and found that Artemis in Greek mythology, the goddess of the moon, and she was the twin sister of Apollo. And so I think that the Artemis program, I think, associated with missions to the moon and beyond are quite appropriate, and something that LaShawn is going to give you more information about. And so it really is my distinct pleasure to introduce LaShawn Boulware.
Good morning. How are y'all this morning? Good. So my name is LaShawn Boulware. I'll be speaking to you overall about my career journey. I first will start with a story, talk about my academic background and my professional background at a high level, and then I'll get into the purpose of my presentation, and then I get into the meat of it. So the story is about how making these tacos in high school led me to where I am today. Now, I am from the greater New Orleans area, from the West Bank across the river. I don't know if y'all saw those two bridges. That's where I grew up. And I have to take you back to 2006. It was after Hurricane Katrina. My family and I, we moved back home from evacuating to Baton Rouge, and it was my sophomore year. It was time for me to start looking for a job because I wanted to earn some money to go to the movies and do things with my friends. So when I got hired at Taco Bell, I worked in the food assembly line, or the food preparation line. And there's 3 different areas. The first area is where they have all the hot food. This person, they set the tone in the order of how we're gonna make the food. They have the taco shells, the tortillas, the beans and the meat in front of them. And then the second area is the cold food items, as you see in the picture. It has the cheese, the lettuce, tomatoes, and all those things. The third area, you can think of that as the material handling area. They have the wrappers and the bags, and they hand the food to the customer. Now, when I would work in the second area, as with the cold food in front of me, I didn't want to be the bottleneck. I would try to find ways to, if I put the cheese here, if I put the sour cream there, can I get to it quicker? Because I didn't want to have the customer stare as they lean over the counter to try to figure out what's taking so long with their food. So as I said, I would try to find ways to move faster. As I continued to work at Taco Bell for my junior and senior year, I started to work as a cashier. And then I thought about what I want to graduate or major in college. So like I said, I was working as a cashier. I felt like I was good with money. I like math. So let's think about accounting. I had an aunt that was an accountant at the time, and she told me it probably wouldn't be as much math as you think it's going to be. And I'm like, okay. So I started to think about engineering. And I'm going through the stereotypical things about each engineering discipline. Mechanical. I don't want to work on cars. I'm good on that. Civil engineering. Bridges are cool, but I don't want to work on bridges. Electrical engineering. Computers are cool, but I don't want to work on computers. And then I got to industrial engineering. It had a business aspect to it. It was about improving processes, helping people work more safely and efficiently. And I'm thinking, that's broad enough. I like to work efficiently. I don't like to waste time. Let's go with that. So I decided to major in industrial engineering. I attended and graduated from North Carolina A&T State University. Aggie Pride? Aggie Pride, all right, we got one. We're gonna work on that. I earned a full academic scholarship through the Lewis C. Dowdy Scholarship, had 2 internships and 2 co-ops. I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up within industrial engineering. I attended and graduated from A&M. I know we got some Aggies in the house. Whoop, there we go, all right. And at A&M, I had the National Gym Consortium Full Fellowship and 2 internships with Chrysler. Once I graduated from A&M, I started my full-time role at Michelin as a regional ergonomist. I was there for 2 years, and then I moved to Houston, Texas to work on the Orion program as a human factors design engineer. I'm also a coach with the Space Guru coaching program, and I'm a scrum master for 2 teams on the One LMX initiative. So again, that's a real high level of my overview of my academic and professional background. Now, I'd like to tell you the 3 things that serve as the purpose of my presentation. The first one being sharing with you key moments of my human factors journey of falling in love with the profession. The next thing is to share with you a little bit about the human factors on Orion. And then lastly, the impact intentionality has had on my career thus far. Before I get too far, let's get on the same page about what does intentionality mean. According to dictionary.com, there's 2 definitions. The first one being a fact or quality of being done on purpose or with intent. The second one, with the attitude of purposefulness with a commitment to deliberate action. Now, for me, I can have that attitude of purposefulness, but that commitment sometimes is like I know what I need to do, but am I going to commit to doing it? That's always my issue. But I share with you this definition because I have a question that I want you to keep in mind as I'm going through my presentation. For me, our profession and what we do is very significant because we remind designers and people that what you do is you should be compassionate and empathetic and intentional about the design of the product, the process, whatever you're designing, you must keep the human in mind. And so what we do, we need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and living an intentional life. So no judgment, and if you feel comfortable, raise your hand if you feel like you're living an intentional life. That's awesome. Great, great, great. And if not, that's all right. We're all just trying to figure it out, but I invite you to consider doing so. So now I'm starting to talk about my first key moment in falling in love with human factors and ergonomics. Now, when I was at A&T for 2 years, I walked on a softball team. I wasn't that good, so I walked off. I was like, I'm on an academic scholarship, not an athletic scholarship. Let me get back to my books. So when I started to have free time, I was exploring ways to find what I call hot pocket money. So to get snacks during the late night study sessions, or again, to go to the movies, buy clothes, things of that nature. So I had a few jobs, but they weren't quite sitting right with me. I even went back to Taco Bell. Then I realized that if I'm gonna do a job outside of school, I wanna leverage my knowledge and my education. So I started to read every flyer that my department posted on the bulletin boards. And I found one that was related to a research assistant role. And during this role, I was responsible for assisting a PhD student with his dissertation related to answering a question about multimodal displays in the excavator cabin. My job was to utilize the digital human modeling tool, JAC, to understand the best placement of this display. So I started to learn, if I put the display here, if I brought it over there, how would it impact the neck, back, and the rest of the body? I started to fall in love. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I can move it around and understand the impact it has to the person. And then the other thing I realized that I enjoy is, how many of y'all researchers have done any research? For me, when I found those 1 or 2 keywords that unlocks all the related articles that I need, I'm like, oh yes, let me use this word more. But as I was doing this research, supporting this PhD student, I decided to be intentional about 2 things. The first one, saving my work. I don't know if y'all ever experienced a program crashing on you after many hours of working on something. Have that happened to y'all? I almost shed a tear every time I think about it, I'm not gonna lie. But that was one thing I decided to be intentional about. And then the second thing was obtaining specific human factors and ergonomics experience within my internships and co-ops. Now, it took a couple of those before I was able to get my first ergonomics project, which was during a co-op at Toyota in Kentucky, in Georgetown, Kentucky. Anybody from Toyota in here? Okay, all right. So if y'all are familiar with the Georgetown, Kentucky facility, they, at the time, back in 2012, they produced the Toyota Camry and the Toyota Venza. Now, in Kentucky, it gets kind of cold. Anybody from Kentucky? Okay, we got a couple of folks. Y'all, it does get cold in Kentucky. I'm from New Orleans, I didn't realize. But with that being said, I had to quantify the ergonomic benefits of what they refer to as a heater barn. You're probably thinking, what is a heater barn? Like what? Like a barn inside of a manufacturing facility? That doesn't sound quite right. Well, I just think of it as like a standalone closet alongside of the assembly line where they hang wire harnesses and blow hot air on them to help make the plastic more pliable. As they're installing the wire harnesses, they need to route them along the sheet metal. Now, anecdotally, everybody understood the benefits of heating the wire harnesses and the plastic, but they wanted to quantify it. So as I was learning more about the process, I would observe the operators. I would ask them about their experience with the process, and then I even asked them, can I try it? And they'll look at me like, really? I'm like, yeah, I want to understand what you're experiencing so I can start to build that empathy and that trust with you to understand how I can help you. So I installed a cold wire harness. I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all need that heater barn. This is key. And then I'll install a heated wire harness, and I'm like, I understand. I worked with a mechanical engineer at a car manufacturing facility. He didn't design cars or work on the cars, but he did help me design a jig that allowed me to take a force gauge to measure how much force it took to bend the wire harness around a central point. So during my time at Toyota, I started to solidify even more like, yes, human factors, ergonomics, this is where I want to take my career. My next moment was graduate school. Prior to my freshman year of A&T, we had a family friend share with me that if there's anything you want to learn more about, consider going to graduate school. So I was like, human factors, ergonomics, I want to learn more about that. Let me go to graduate school. So during my time at A&M, when I was in the human factor lab meetings, when I was a research assistant assisting another PhD student with his dissertation, and then when I was in the specific human factors and ergonomic courses, I was in my happy place. Now, as I said earlier, I thought I liked math, but as I got into those IE courses, I didn't like that kind of math. I was like, let me get back to my human factors courses. So while I was matriculating at A&M, I took classes with Dr. Pickens and Dr. Benden. And they have the intention to encourage and bring students to this conference every year. During my last semester, prior to graduating, I attended the 2015 conference in Nashville, Tennessee. Attending this conference, I had two intentions. The first one was to find a job. Are there any students here looking for a job? Yes, I was in your seat. And then the second intention that I had was to start to build my professional network. While at the conference, I was in the hiring process to begin my full-time job at Michelin. At the conference, I met, at the time, my future ergonomist colleagues, and I met Bobby Watts, who was the incoming director of ergonomics. So I'm thinking, oh, this is awesome. I'm meeting my future colleagues. I learned about the Ergo Cup and the impact that has on the ergonomic community. Again, I'm in a happy place. And then during the conference, there was a call for volunteers, as Monica mentioned earlier. The call for me was the social media committee. And at the time, I was like, I'm not that good with social media. However, I want to build my professional network, and I knew that volunteering on the committee, it will allow me to start to understand who are the players within this field, and if I need a job in the future, I have a connection. So I served on the social media committee for 2 years. I presented at the conference on numerous occasions. I served on the strategic planning committee for 2 years, and now I'm here. So please volunteer and support this conference because it is very unique, and our field is niche, but it does have a significant impact. Now, I would like to share with you about the Orion program, the fun stuff, right? So I'll quickly go through the different parts of the Orion vehicle. We have the spacecraft adapter on the bottom right, which attaches the Orion to the Space Launch System rocket. We have the service module that has the water, the oxygen, the electrical and propulsion system. Then we have the crew module, which is where the astronauts will live, eat, work, and play. And then we have the launch abort system, where if there is a need for an abort during launch or ascent to orbit, that could take the Orion vehicle away from the rocket. Now I have a quick video to show you of the interior of the cabin to just give you more of an idea of what it's like inside of the vehicle. All right. So we are designing the vehicle for 4 astronauts, and we're designing for the 99th percentile male and the 1st percentile female. So any and everybody as size astronaut can fit in the vehicle. The radiation shelter also serves as a storage unit, or the lockers, where we have the food, the clothes, their laptops, all of those items within the vehicle. Next, we have the environment control life support system, which creates a livable environment within the crew module. Because remember, they're going to space, they don't have the oxygen, things of that nature. So I think of it as an RV for space. Everything you need that's in your home will be in the crew module. And then we have the exercise device, because again, microgravity, you're losing your muscle mass and your bone density, so we need to keep the astronauts active. And we have the lavatory, which I'll speak more about, but I refer to that as the hygiene bay. You could think of that as your bathroom, restroom, where you need to go do your private activities. All right. So let's get into a little bit more about the lavatory hygiene bay. Okay, so the image on the right is from the medium fidelity mock-up facility at the Johnson Space Center mock-up facility in Houston, Texas. There's a lot going on, but you can see the size of the crew module. It's not that big. Most people can't stand up straight unless you're in the center of the vehicle. Now, the Lockheed Martin Human System Integration team, we work closely with our NASA Human Engineering team, and at the time we were doing a big evaluation in the mock-up facility. There was also a media event going on, so they had former astronauts in the building. And one of the former astronauts, Fred Hawes, from the Apollo 13 program, he wandered over to the Orion vehicle. One of my counterparts, he started explaining to Fred what was going on in the vehicle. He shared with them, oh, we have a food warmer. Fred was surprised. He was like, a food warmer? Yes, I guess apparently they didn't have hot food on Apollo. And then my colleague started to talk to him about the hygiene bay. He was like, yeah, we have foot restraints, we have a handhold, we have a toilet. Again, Fred was surprised. He was like, a toilet? So you're probably wondering, what did they have on Apollo, right? Because why would he be surprised that they have a toilet? I'll show you. They had bags. Yeah. So I don't know much about the urine transfer system, but I heard many stories about the fecal bag. And the adhesion causing issues, fingers poking holes in the bag. But again, this is why human factors and the evolution of technology is important, right? Because now we have a toilet. Now with the toilet, we have a funnel and a hose for your urinary operations. We have that brown circle as a seat for your defecation operations. And there's a vacuum that pulls the matter from your body. So a huge upgrade, right, from the bags? I would say so. So one of the tasks that I worked on was refining the foot restraint placement, or just the foot restraint design. Now, initially we had a single strap. So while you're using the UWMS or the toilet, there are two tabs that allow you to create a good seal. If I didn't hear that 100 times of the importance of creating a good seal, I don't know what I heard. But like I said, there's two tabs to help you create a good seal. And then with the foot strap, so the toilet is about 30 some odd inches high. So if you don't have a long hip, a long popliteal height or a calf length, then you're not gonna get that good hip angle, right? Anybody has ever heard of the squatty potty? Okay, that's what we're trying to go for. The straps that wasn't really cutting it for us, so we iterated. We had multiple loops, and then we went to a foot plate. So we started with the strap. So you're pulling down and you're crunching up, doing an ab. Again, we got to get them working out, right? But again, you didn't have that good hip angle. So we were working on that, and we decided on a foot plate. We had multiple heights, a shorter height for people with longer calf lengths, a taller foot plate for folks that have a shorter calf length. Now, I have many more stories about Orion, but if you want to talk more, just let me know. So now I'll start to talk about the impact of intentionality and how I build intentional connections. Now we're getting to the last couple of days of the conference, right? Okay. During 2022, I felt like my social skills were kind of declining, but I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I like to watch comedic YouTube videos, videos about humor. And there's one channel, they have would you rather questions. So it's just comedians just talking about would you rather this or would you rather that. I decided that going out to lunch with one of my teams, I'll try out one of these questions. And I'd like to offer that to you as an icebreaker. So I want you to look around and find two people that you still want to network with, but you haven't yet because you're like, I don't know how to start a conversation with them. So look around, see if they're in the room. I don't see none of y'all looking around. Y'all like, I'm not finna look around. All right, there you go. I see some head movements. Thank you. All right. Next, I want you to be open to learning something new and hearing a different perspective. Now, I ask that you please don't begin conversations because I feel like I'm gonna get y'all with this question. And then you have homework. At the end of the conference, or before the end of the conference, find those people you want to network with and ask them the question. So you're probably wondering, what is this question that she wants us to answer? Let's get to it. Would you rather learn the secrets of space or the secrets of the ocean? So raise your hand if you would rather learn the secrets of space. Okay, almost about half. I think NASA's hiring. Okay, y'all might want to check that out. Raise your hand if you want to learn the secrets of the ocean. Y'all my people. That's what I want to learn that too. All this water? Okay, thank you. All right, so that is a question I use when I'm out and about and I'm with a group of people and I see that everybody's kind of on their phone, not really talking. I'm like, would y'all want to answer this question? And so I offer this as an icebreaker to you for you to begin conversations with people when you're out and about. You're welcome. So next I want to talk about where intentional connections led me. In early 2020, the CEO of the National Gym Consortium, Brendan McConnell, he had the intention to reconnect with his alumni base. And when he called me, I remember two things from that phone call. The first one was that they wanted to award me the Gym Young Alumni Award. I was caught off guard. I was like, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. And then the second thing I remember for that conversation was he asked me, where did I see myself in 5 years? At that time, I did not have an answer. I was on year 3 of a five-year plan, so I was like, I got 2 years left to figure that out. I don't know. But at the time, I was considering the Advanced Technical Leadership Program at Lockheed Martin Space. I took that as a sign that I should apply for the program. I did that, and I graduated from the program last year. One of the requirements of that program was to find a mentor. I found one mentor and user experience because I thought that's where I wanted to go next with my career, but it didn't quite fit right when I met with this person. And then I started to learn more about coaching and helping people through that way. And I was like, I set the intention to find a coach or a mentor that had a coaching background. During my first meeting with this mentor, she introduced me to the Space Guru coaching program. And the training was like in a couple of weeks. So she told me about the program, I applied, I got into the training program, and now I'm a coach, and I've been coaching people in leadership development programs since last year. Another thing that came out of that conversation with Brennan was me getting re-engaged with the National Gym Consortium. I attended a couple of their meetings, and I was introduced to the National Science Foundation I-Corps program, which is an entrepreneurial training program that helps university researchers begin to understand how they can commercialize their research. And I have a personal interest in business and personal finance and things of that nature. So I'm like, oh, this is a great way for me to get involved and mentor and support the next upcoming entrepreneurs in our society. So starting with that phone call from Brennan was a trickle-down effect of his intention of reconnecting with his alumni base. Now, I start to wrap it up and just highlight the different impacts intentionality has had on me thus far. The first one being discovering my passion for human factors and ergonomics, developing my professional network, integrating my personal interests within my career, such as coaching and business, reaching several goals, being an active participant in my life, where things aren't happening to me, but for me. And then finally, executing on my purpose of helping people through human factors and ergonomics, coaching, mentoring, and volunteering. So as a reminder, we have homework. Everybody has homework. Find at least 2 people you want to network with and ask them the would you rather question as a way to begin a conversation and building that connection with whoever you want to connect with. So I'll leave you with this last quote and a question. I was listening to Will Smith's self-titled audiobook, and he said his grandmother told him this: God places the best things in life on the other side of fear. Are you living an intentional life, or is fear holding you back? Now, these are several ways you can intentionally connect with me. I thank you for your attention today. I thank the Applied Ergonomics Conference Planning Committee for trusting me to speak before you today. I thank everybody that has had an impact on me in my life thus far. I'd like to send a special thank you to my husband and my father who are in attendance today. And I wish y'all a good rest of the conference.
Thank you so much, LaShawn.